Is that your final answer? I don't want to talk about it anymore. But don't you think that you ought to at least think about it? After all, you are going to die one of these days. You need to think about what is going to happen to you when you die. Look, I've told you that I don't believe that God exists. Therefore, I don't think that anything bad will happen to me when I die. I'll just cease to exist. That's all. So just drop the subject. What? Do you know that for sure? I mean, can you prove that God does not exist and that you will not face him when you die? No, of course I can't prove it. No one can actually do that. But even though I can't prove it, that's what I believe, and I'm not alone. There are plenty of people who don't believe that there is a God. In fact, I would say that the majority of scientists today don't believe that there is a God. You can believe that God exists if you want to, and you can believe the Bible to be God's written word. That's fine. I just don't happen to believe it. Now, like I said, let's drop the subject. Well, before we do that, would you do me a favor? One favor? What's that? Take a few moments and honestly consider what the consequences will be for you if you are wrong in what you believe. I'm asking you to do this because I don't think that you are really being honest with yourself. The fact that you want to drop the subject indicates this. Now, I do not simply want to make you uncomfortable, but the truth of the matter is that you really should be uncomfortable in your belief. Do you know what the consequences will be if you are wrong? I'll stand before God, I guess, and and a lot of other people with me. What's going to be so uncomfortable about that? Yes, it is true that you will stand before him, but do you think that he is going to look upon you favorably? I don't know. Sure, why not? I'm not that bad. I don't think that I really have anything to fear. Did you say that you don't think you really have anything to fear? You don't think that standing before the God whom you have deliberately rejected, disbelieved, scorned, and rebelled against all your life might not give you reason to fear him and what he might do to you when you face him? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I just said. If you are wrong and God does exist and the Bible is his written word to you, then you are going to stand before him as one who has chosen to reject him and not believe his testimony to you. Therefore, are going to stand before him as one who has deliberately and purposely scorned him and rebelled against him. In fact, the truth of the matter is this, that you are going to stand before him for all practical purposes as one who has hated him. With that being the case, do you really think that he is going to look upon you favorably? Don't you think that he is more likely to respond to you with anger and wrath? If that's the case, then I guess he wouldn't necessarily look upon me favorably. But how do you know that God actually will respond to me with anger and wrath? Because I believe the Bible to be his written word, and that is exactly what he says that you will receive from him. Listen to this. If you are not one of them that know not God, if you are one of them that know not God and obey not the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, then God says that you will be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his power. 2 Thessalonians 1:9. Is this really what you want? Are you absolutely sure this is not the very thing that is going to happen to you? Of course it isn't what I want, but as I said, I'm not even convinced that God exists. Well, that's my point. That's why I'm asking you to take a few moments to think about the consequences of your belief if you are wrong. You know you can afford to be wrong about a lot of things, but this is one thing about which you absolutely cannot afford to be wrong. The eternal destiny and welfare of your being is at stake, and the cost of you being wrong is so high that the consequences of it are horrifying. In fact, they are most horrifying consequences you will ever face. In view of this, the only sensible thing for you to do is to honestly examine the possibility that you are wrong, that God really does exist and that the Bible is His written word to you. Again, you cannot afford to be wrong. What do you say? Will you honestly examine it? Maybe. Is that your final answer?